liberation, virtuous field far beyond form and emptiness, wearing the Tathagata's teaching, we vow to save all beings. Great road of liberation, virtuous field far beyond form and emptiness, wearing the Tathagata's teaching, we vow to save all beings. Great road of liberation, virtuous field far beyond form and emptiness, wearing the Tathagata's teaching, we vow to save all beings.
Samaha Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra
Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, when practicing deeply the Prajna Paramita, perceiving tainted nor pure, do not increase nor decrease, therefore in emptiness, no form, no feelings, no perceptions, no impulses, no consciousness, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no color, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no realm of eyes, and so forth, until no realm of mind consciousness, no ignorance, and also no extinction of it, and so forth, until no old age and death, and also no extinction of them, no suffering, no origination, no stopping, no path, no cognition, also no attainment, with nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva depends on prajna paramita, and the mind is no hindrance. Without any hindrance, no fears exist, far apart from every perverted view. The Bodhisattva dwells in nirvana in the three worlds. All Buddhas depend on prajna paramita and attain unsurpassed, complete, perfect enlightenment. Therefore know the prajna paramita is the great transcendent mantra, is the great right mantra, is the utmost mantra, is the supreme mantra, which is able to relieve all suffering, and is true, not false. So proclaim the prajna paramita mantra. Proclaim the mantra that says Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisattva.
We honor the boundless virtues of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May their compassion embrace us. We prostrate ourselves before Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May their wondrous power enter our heart. Now that we have chanted the Prajna Paramita Sutra, all merits elicited in this recitation are dedicated to the great teacher Shakyamuni Buddha, the first master in China, Bodhidharma, the first master in Japan, Ibai Dogen, our founding teacher J.K. Dainei, the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, triple treasures in the 10 directions, and all arhats and bodhisattvas. May the power of their liberating wisdom direct the Saha world toward the peaceful Buddha land, and may the power of their inspiration and their zazen mind lead wandering beings to enter the right path. We aspire to turn the Dharma wheel unceasingly and to free the world from every tragedy of war, epidemic, natural disaster, and starvation.
All Buddhas, 10 directions, 3 worlds, all venerable ones, Bodhisattva, Mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, Mahaprajna Paramita.
This next sutra is called the Ceremony. It's a memorial chant in Sanskrit, and it's chanted in memory of Dainei Applebaum. So we have the page chant along with us.
Jai Chanting This chanting of the Dainei Ceremony is dedicated in the memory of Dainei Page Applebaum, who has passed away from this fleeting life. The graceful lotus flower opens and the petals fall in the leaves. The seeds of good actions continue to replant themselves. The coming and going of life and death is like the changing of the seasons, summer and winter. It is like a bolt of lightning striking in the empty sky, like great waves disappearing in the vast ocean. We bow with homage and appreciation and wholeheartedly continue our own lives for the benefit of all beings.
All Buddhas and directions, 3 words.
more.
Next thing can come from the front, the back, please. So as soon as they're ready, please.
Remember when sort of our founding teacher who came to Minneapolis from the West Coast, he was a Japanese Zen monk who assisted the first Zen Center in North America, which was almost 100 years ago, in Los Angeles, and then moved to San Francisco. And that became the San Francisco Zen Center, which was right in the Haight-Ashbury area in the 60s. So everybody wanted to kind of find out about Zen, you know. But now it's an old word, you know. You can buy Zen perfume, Zen alarm clocks, you know. It's just, you know. So what's the Zen stuff about? So I came down here with Katagiri Roshi one time in the really early time of his being in Minneapolis, because there was interest down here, university town, whatever. And several people, a person named Steve Fox and David Nassau, traveled up to Minneapolis several times for some of those weekend retreats. So anyway, I came down with Katagiri Roshi one time as his Jisha, and it was pretty loose in those days, you know, like, and then, so on our way back, he said, you know, Shokin, if you can help that Iowa City Zen Center, it would be good. So that was way back, you know. So I've been here off and on periodically, and come maybe once a year. But right now, the Iowa City Zen Center is in a state of transition because its priest who was here, her name is Dainei Applebaum. She passed away here a few weeks ago. So I'd like we could share some thoughts and memories of her at the end, you know, but I thought this morning I would talk, you know, I'm no authority on death. I haven't been there. My cat died, I could share that with you, but, and, this whole thing about death is, before Katagiri Roshi died prematurely. Garibon said prematurely. He died when he was 62 years old up in Minneapolis, at the Minnesota Zen Center. So everyone was saying, you know, he died so prematurely. But I kept thinking, you know, premature to what? You know, and I knew what they meant, you know, it was young in age, but still, you know, premature to what? You know, it's like, life and death are the great matter, and, you know, the universe, it doesn't ask us when we want to die or how we want to die. We all are old enough to know that everything is born and dies. That death is part of our existence in this moment, in this room. You know, we all die at some point. When, how, who knows, what kind of decisions you're making, you know, there's lots of variables. But sooner or later, we can die, we will die. So how do you put your mind around that? You know, right before Tadagiri Roshi died, he asked me about going to Japan. He said, literally, he said, Chokin, he was laying on a mat on the third floor kind of hospital room they set up in the Zen Center in Minneapolis. He said, Shogun, what would you think about going to Japan for a year? Ooh, I was ordained already, 3 or 4 years. I said, like, yeah, that'd be great, but I don't know Japanese, you know. So then he says, Zen in Japanese means no, it doesn't matter. You know, I got the message. Zen, that was one of the first words I used. He said, Zen, it doesn't matter. You know, like he said, just go and taste the food. So it ended up going 3 years, tasting the food, which is very good. I really appreciate that time. Tadagiri Roshi wanted to establish a training monastery in Minneapolis. They had bought land down in southeast Iowa, but it was closed after his death, and I was already there working on it, and we started building a monastery in Decorah, Iowa, right north of Decorah. But when I was in Japan, every temple that I visited had like a wooden, it's called a han, like this little wooden board. It's more like this wide. It's got Japanese characters on it and a wooden hammer, like that hammer. So this is like, what's going on there? You know, why? It's an announcement thing. It's an instrument that it's like a doorbell. You know, it's in front of the entry door. We have one in the front door of our Kuei building, on the side of the door. It's our doorbell, so to speak, from ancient times. But what's written on that board? It says, life and death are the great matter. Impermanence is split. So it is. We don't think it's split. But what is? Life and death is the great matter. Like, another way to say that is, what's our lives about? How can we live, you know, in the face of death? How do we take care of this moment, where we are, in this room, at this time, you know, with COVID, many circumstances that we all face. So, Tadagiri was very good, you know. He kept coming back to this principle of what we were doing with this Zazen. So what is that? You know, when you say Zazen is like, you know, mindfulness, you know, like kind of getting more tuned in, getting with yourself. Yeah, it's all those things. But what it's really about is how did you and me, how did we handle those 40 minutes? I don't know about you, but about someplace down the road there, I looked up to see if my friend Steve here had fallen asleep. He was tuned in, you know. Come on, Steve, like, it's, you know, it's this weird ballpark. But it's this universe turning. 40 minutes is 40 minutes. Beyond my take on it. And it takes strength to deal with life as it is. Life as it is the moment at hand, the moment under your foot. Life as it is your death and my death. So how do we do that? So it takes strength to deal with this life that we have. There's no easy, enlightenment kind of things that will make you kind of think, just cruise through, in a buzz, I'm above it all, where you're not above it all when somebody's knocking at your door to pay the rent or whatever, or stub your toe. So, the issue of moment is what we were dealing with in that period of Zazen. So that's just a moment on the cushion. And you could say, okay, so what's the big deal about being in the moment? Well, being in the moment is a pivotal opportunity. It's like your life and my life, is constantly arising and disappearing. And this moment right now, that we have right now, this moment turns the wheel, so to speak, of endless future. We don't see it, but it's true that all life is interwoven, interpenetrated. And if you look at, there's nothing to believe in. The Buddha never asked people to believe in anything. Even when asked about God, the Buddha said, neither God nor no God. So he just wasn't going there, there. What he was talking about is moment. Moment is something you don't have to believe. It's right under your foot. It'll grab up and bite you sometime. So, moment, and if you look at life, this is a little bit more, we call it enlightened view, from a Soto Zen perspective, is to somehow see the cause-effect relationship of every moment. That every moment is a product of previous moments from endless past, we could say. Where did it begin? I don't know where it began. And did it begin? Perhaps the beginning was cause and effect relationship between eons, gases, whatever. And these moments, today, it's Iowa City Zen Center. This moment also shapes endless future. You don't see it, but if you look at life, life is a process of cause and effect. There was a Soto Zen monk named Dogen who traveled from Japan. He was a Japanese monk. He went to he went to Japan and transmitted this particular lineage called Soto Zen after two masters, Sozan and Tozan. So that lineage really emphasized the point that life and death are the great matter. Take care of moment under your foot. That turns the Dharma wheel, so to speak. And there's no wheel to turn. It's cause and effect kind of in motion. So how do we do that? It's like taking care of moment is taking care of moment that is. It's not just the moments that we want. It's not just the moments that we, try to avoid. It's the moment at hand. Many times, even without utmost planning, insurance, health foods, everything, go for it. I go for it, but still, it's the thinking, So we like to arrange our life. We like to go easy. We all like that and aim for it. But the true easy, so to speak, is can you deal with life as it is? Can you merge with it? Fantastic with this, fantastic. So can you somehow get with what's happening? It doesn't mean liking it. It doesn't mean disliking it. You know, there's no answer to that. You know, all the social issues, you know, on every age, we have our own disease centers. So how do we deal with the moment that is? People don't think the way you think. You know. How do we work with that without just really ultimately destroying each other? So that is this issue, I think, of life and death. And what I wanted to say about my own experience with death is my mother died. I was in Minneapolis. I was raised in St. Louis. My brother, who lived in St. Louis, told me Mom had died. So I flew down there to Minneapolis, to St. Louis, and went to the funeral. And the funeral director took me and my brother downstairs to where they pump all the formaldehyde into, you know, and she had this cloth totally over her body. So, and the funeral director left me, and you know, I stood there, and you know, I didn't even have an impulse to pull the sheet down off her face. You know, somehow something in me, well, I don't even remember a thought about that, but I didn't even, but I lifted the sheet by her ankle and touched her ankle. That was fine. Then, when my brother and I walked down the alley up to our house, and we always walked down, I just must have got cried. I never had cried before, really, except for one time when my dog Spot got run over in my car. But death is like, it's really kind of spooky. You know, we get that kind of feeling. And the other thing I just wanted to share, when we had a jungle cat who came in as, you know, across from a barn way across the field, probably wild as could be. We fed him, I'll make a long story short, you know, he died here a few weeks ago. So, but in his death, it was like we went down to a corner in the basement room. I just went down completely, so to speak. And it just, you know, there was no emotion, but he was still, but he was just, so I talked. Oh my God, you know, 17 years. When I came back after Zazen that morning, breakfast, he had died. It was really a powerful moment in a way, because he was just, he had lost so much weight in just, you know, a week. Jumped off the couch one evening and collapsed, his face hit the floor, with the legs couldn't support it. And I just walked downstairs to his dark place. So there was a little passage that came to mind that night. And I'd like to share a category. This is, and I'll close. This is category's book. There's a collection of his lectures. The first one was Returning to Silence. This one is You Have to Say Something. The first one is like literal translation. This is Japanese and English, weren't that great. But this one was like excerpts that were edited. But he said a man traveling to India came upon some people sitting around a cow that was about to die. He looked at the cow, and then he looked at the people. He said, hey, why doesn't someone just shoot the cow? Put him out of his suffering. You know, and he said, I don't want to see her suffer. Okay. But the people said to him, no, people were just sitting there, looking at the cow. People said, no, just sit here with us and watch. It's pretty, Kagura Roshi says, it seems pretty odd, but it's a very direct teaching. So, sit here with us and just that's nothing to say. It's like the zazen. You're just there. And you get it. Life and death. It's the great matter. Getting you, life and death, just gently be with the moment. That's what Zen, my take, is about. And we get with wherever we are. Zazen is one, getting with it. There are 24 hours of moments in the day, 23 hours and 20 minutes more. So, it's that cushion. That cushion is not Zen, it's not Zen. It's basically, here it says, it's a 24-hour practice. So Dainei, she was, a trooper. She was, out around. She practiced up in Minneapolis. She knew so many people. She had her own ways, like we all do. But she was, in a sense, constantly out there. Even her last days, she called her sister and fellow Dharma heirs. Dharma heirs are people that I've ordained. I was the person who ordained her. And Dharma heir means ordination is like a novice ordination. Like after what, 12 years, whatever, the person really feels like he's on the same wavelength that our teacher is. There's a process called Dharma transmission. So, and here Roshi had 14 Dharma heirs. 7 were women, 7 were men. Ours too are balanced. And so she was one of my Dharma heirs. And she called the other Dharma heirs, sisters and brothers, so to speak, and just said hello. Did that, 2 days, several days before she actually died. She was just out there making contact. I have a lot of respect for her. She went, Iowa City, Tibetan group, Thich Nhat Hanh's, sleep group in Thich Nhat Hanh's group, it's good. So we chanted, with this life we have, what do you want to do with it? Well, how about living your life for the benefit of all beings? That's not a bad idea. If you can't find any leaves, take your Russian and say, if you go to Quick Trip and there's toilet paper on the floor, how about just picking up the toilet paper and putting it in your toilet? Clean your, that's the thing. You know, it's there, it's under your foot. How do we live? We use these words, peace and harmony. How do you live peace and harmony with the universe? Tune in. You don't have to get on a white horse right off its own paws. That's okay too. But still, also say, just open your eyes. Feel on. I think that is Zen practice. So I'd like to open this up. I don't know, we're taking a little time without getting, blah, 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 too much over the top. But if anyone would like to share anything about your own experience here in Iowa City, thinking of it, just to share anything about our questions.
I can start. She gave me my jukai, and I was.
What's jukai?
Jukai is lay ordination, and that's what I said actually, because I was raised by Dam. I started sitting sort of when I was 10 years old and I had headaches and just stepped it up. Found out about the Blue Club record in college, and that was my background. And she suggested Jukai lay ordination shortly after I came here, and I said, I don't know. And so she gave me the year and a half or so it took me to get around to saying, well, okay, I can do that. And so in general, with me, she just sort of pointed in a direction and let me go off and wander in the fields, and that was, it worked for me.
That's good. How long ago was that contact? With her?
Must be 8 years ago.
That's great.
I was her first.
Yeah, you were first lay ordination.
I remember she helped me sew my rakusu, and I remember being so touched by the idea of sewing and the idea of each stitch. And one time we were sewing on the gauze on the plates that you for the meal at the monastery.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of the stick that you see your dishes.
Oryoki, so the set of bowls that we use for meal
Yes.
times, and everyone, you don't put the oil during these retreats, and you clean your bowl with a little cloth stick called setsu stick. And you have to sew those on, so we had people use it, sew them and use it in the next generation, the next retreat or whatever. Thank you. And I don't have to sew.
I just remember though, sitting at the table in the queue and sewing those.
Yeah.
About a year after I had gone through sewing the rakusu and lay ordination, and how she made that sewing this very ordinary object just as important as sewing the rakusu.
Yeah.
And that was very touching.
When I sewed my rakusu with Kate, she wasn't ordained yet, and so my teacher was Dr. Hokioji, and so it took us maybe 9 months, and my kids would come along. My kids were young, and so my kids, she was so excited that my daughter made the bag. It's not perfect, but for her it was, and she praised her. And I run into Dainei in town several times this past year. She was always busy, but she always would zero in on you. And she would always have this presence, like after seeing her or being with her, I would just feel more at peace. You know, there's what my Angela said, people don't remember what you say, but how you make them feel. And she made me feel peace. And no matter what the busyness of the everyday life, you need to feel peace. And that's something that is worth remembering and worth sitting with.
I just ask one thing, if you don't mind. Just say your names because you all know each other, but just, it's been a while.
I think Maureen Patterson.
Okay, thank you.
My name's Tammy Martin.
I'd like to just mention two sort of anecdotes. As with Steve, I discussed with Dainei for quite some time whether I wanted to undertake Bukai, and she gave me lots of homework and lots of reading and this and that, and lots of time, which I was grateful for. The first anecdote has to do with just the same experience of sewing. Her ambition at first was to read sutras to me while I sewed. Came over to my house, we would fix the breakfast, and we would sit and sew for a while. And she quickly realized that my skills as a seamster were not up to the least distraction. So she concentrated on trying to improve those. And I was very grateful for all the time she devoted to that. The second anecdote, I think, speaks to her determination, not to say sometimes stubbornness. She would not give up. There was a time, the first time I went up to Ramongi, you were up there for sesshin, there was a Chuso ceremony, and she was the Tenzo for, I think, 53, 54 people preparing Oryoki meals. And we drove up there with another interested person from Cedar Rapids. And all the way up there, she was inviting questions about Zen and discussing the case from the Blue Cliff record, which was to be the topic of the Chuso ceremony, if that's correctly stated. The candidate was to speak to that case. And there was a lecture, I think, by Shilako or the day before, I think, about it too. And so she spoke to us about that. And then on the way back, she was so exhausted she would just fall asleep. But she continually was inviting us to, if you have a question, ask me a question. You know, I'm here now. And she was just in the back sleeping, and we tried to limit our questions a bit, but she wasn't going to give up any opportunity to speak.
Last year
Whatever bit of energy she had was at the disposal of quantity.
Yes.
Roxanne Hinton. Quite some time ago, I was actually a resident here on the lower level, and one of the things that Dainei began was Wednesday morning breakfast. You know, I was residing there. I mean, it was just became one of her themes, and all how she connected was around community, which is part of Sangha, you know, this whole theme of Sangha and the importance of that, and I really get that and appreciate it. So one way that I would carry after the sit on Wednesday would be to sit around the table and converse over our breakfast. And that was immensely valuable. And I get that, I relate to that process of community through the spirit and, I've been fished in with a real really not silent. So that's something I appreciate, that theme of the depth of Sangha that's in community.
What's that? You want to say something? Why did you say you were just? Yes.
I'm Vicki, and I remember Dainei being very generous. When Keith was going to be ordained as a priest, if you remember Keith, he was not able to sew his own robe because he was disabled. She had us all over here at all hours, and you remember that too, sewing Keith's robe, and we would all sit around and sew his robe, and always it just took forever, but it was so generous of her to do that.
Yes.
My name's Amy, and I never took my ordination here, but I came a lot when Dainei was here. She was always just so open, and she would just draw you in, with her energy. And she and I were both nurses, so we had a lot of that kind of connection. But one time she asked me to be the temple here for when you came, and I didn't know anything. She's like, I need you to cook for, a whole group of people. And I was so, touched that she wanted me to do that. And I took it on and I did it, and it worked out fine. But it was just what am I supposed to do? I didn't know anything, but she didn't care. She just brought you in and said, just come and do it. Just say yes. And so I really loved her energy.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
So, a non-Zen Center moment, I knew her through my occupation, massage therapy. She came to me, and I love seeing her because that energy was there, and we get to do the massage, and it's kind of like a meditation because the room's dark and it's just us, and sometimes you didn't even have to speak a full sentence to know what the other person's thinking, and just that, with her, that flow of energy, I was giving love to her, if you will, and it's coming back, and she's one of those rare people I could just relax, just be there in that moment. It is what it is.
Once I heard her story, her own upbringing, and what happened with her hand was kind of more than just that physical event, crash, car crash, just the more I've heard her story, it's just like I really been helpful just to really appreciate, what she was. So I could feel myself, she was really shared openly with God. And that's pretty rare, that, you share that what's going on with them. That's a special moment. And so I appreciate this time. We kind of continue more as she, more vulnerable, actually, with her infections. All right. Well, this is great. We talked a little bit about going, the road to the future. So Iowa City right now has no groups, and so for lay saga, there have been many sagas where the lay saga really step forward, and that included, even like over in Des Moines, they have a couple of lay persons who take a rotation, giving a little talk, opening it up like this for discussion. It's valuable to maintain presence. And I hope to come back, talk about maybe October, my usual time, or January, maybe. But, I talked with Peter Westby and the priest in the Des Moines Zen Center that, we haven't really got down to it. But you're right on I-80, you're the Sister Zen Centers in a way. And I know some of you all have been to Des Moines for ordinations that they've had or special events. I think they would be willing to, come over like this, for Sunday morning, this Saturday. We met yesterday and did a lot of logistical stuff about the chanting. Did real good, by the way. So there you can go, and that's what we do at Umanji too. We're a training program up there, so it doesn't have to be during a retreat time. Okay, so thank you. This has been awesome to be this weekend. It's great to see you. Let's keep trucking.
We do have some coffee and tea and cookies for those who may wish to stay for a little while and get shares in the circle and so forth. You're more than welcome to do so. I would also like to acknowledge that we struggled to determine how to accommodate a fairly large number of people in a small space. And it has occurred to me, and someone has verified for me, that this arrangement might be capable of improvement. So I hope to see if we can address that in the future. And Shokin, what would you think if we had the Doan sitting in the area where you were standing?
Better.
And able to address both the Zendo and the great room, with both, perhaps.
Yeah, that would